I remember just before the celebration, first they lowered the Union Jack, which is the British flag. And we saw the flag came down, and the Bahamian flag came up.
And the raising of the Bahamian flag. I tell you now, I feel the same way as I did that evening.
40 years have passed since the Bahamas got its current constitution, since we became an independent country, one people committed to building a nation. As we observe this anniversary, NB12 will take a look at what led us to July 10th, 1973, with the people who lived it, the remaining framers of our Constitution. We invite you to join us for our Independence Special, The Independence Story, right here on Cable 12. Happy Independence, Bahamas.
Good evening, Bahamas. You're tuned into NB12, broadcasting from Cable 12 Studios on Robinson Road. Coming up tonight in news, a host of new taxes to take effect tomorrow, but draft legislation on the government's proposed value-added tax system to be unveiled soon. Another traffic accident has claimed a life this weekend. Police officers stressed out on the job. Officials from the National Anti-Drug Secretariat explain how violence and drug use within schools. Plus, Kalik holds a birthday bash for the Bahamas. We've got those stories and so much more coming up. I'm Royston Jones, and NB12 Weekend starts right now. Welcome once again to NB12. When tomorrow comes, a host of new revenue measures will drive some taxes up and others down. For example, vehicle tax are being restructured, as are business license fees and other custom duties on lots of items. But the big one, value-added tax, is still a year away, with many complaining the details are still way too fuzzy. Well, NB12 can reveal tonight that details on draft legislation on the VAT system are expected to be made available to the general public within the next 3 to 4 weeks. That's according to Minister of State for Finance Michael Halkitis, who says this will be coupled with the release of the draft regulations, which will show exactly how the new tax system will operate and affect Bahamians when the 2014-2015 fiscal year begins. Halkitis says the government plans to intensify its public education campaign, recognizing this new tax system as something that is very important for ordinary Bahamians to understand.
We understand that there has been some anxiety amongst the public, particularly low-income earners, as to how this would affect them. We will have the opportunity to show them that, there are mechanisms by which we can minimize the effect on the lower income earners, and so hopefully allay those fears. We'll be able to go into some more detail on how we expect to bring down customs duties when the value-added tax comes into effect.
The state finance minister says the government has allocated in the 2013-2014 budget funds for tax reform, which will assist in underwriting the costs of an implementation unit and begin to put in place the enforcement unit for a smooth introduction.
We have a small unit already in place, drawn from Ministry of Finance, Customs Department, and some of our other departments within the government. Recently, they have been visiting some of the jurisdictions in the region that have a value-added tax in place to get an on-site appreciation of how it actually operates, and so we think that would be valuable.
Halkitis says the government realizes that a balance must be struck to ensure the country is not taxed back into a recession, while bearing in mind the fiscal environment and the need to lower the country's deficit. He says the government is keen to gauge the public's input. Here's what Halkitis had to say when asked how the government would ensure VAT would not rise year over year as seen in some developed countries.
Because then you get into a situation that you speak about, you reform your tax system and you find that you still cannot pay your bills because you do not have that fiscal discipline to make sure that you're trimming the fat, you're making sure that you get value for money, that every dollar you spend you get maximum value for. So that is the commitment as well of the government. We're asking the Bahamian people, Bahamian businesses to contribute towards getting our fiscal situation on a more sustainable footing, Our responsibility is that we must take those resources and use them for maximum benefit. So
He noted that the government is committed to providing the public with necessary services free from tax. The rate of VAT proposed by the government stands at 15%. Halkida says that rate is comparable to other countries in the region that range between 10 and 15% VAT. Well, a day after a man was killed in a traffic accident on Market and Broome Streets, a woman died during a traffic accident earlier this morning. According to police, shortly before 1 a.m., the driver of a red 2010 Honda Accord traveling south on Blue Hill Road and the driver of a blue 1997 Land Rover traveling west along Soldier Road collided. While both drivers received minor injuries, according to police, the rear seat passenger, an 18-year-old woman in the Honda Accord, was killed on impact. The victim in yesterday's traffic fatality, a 53-year-old man, was also a rear seat passenger. Today, Police Liaison Inspector Chrislyn Skippings advised our news team that in both incidents, the impact was at the rear of those vehicles. And executives of the Police Staff Association insisting more needs to be done to help police officers now facing record stress levels due to rising crime. Chairman of the PSA, Sergeant Dwayne Roll, told us stress is inevitable in a country where more crimes are being committed each year. Roll said gone are the days when only a forced chaplain is needed to counsel overly stressed officers. Roll said officers in the 21st century are facing a much higher work level and mounting challenges.
Officers are going out there purchasing their own stuff in order to function as police officers. Financial issues. Officers have bills that above the roof and no relief in the financial increases. So all of those are stress level that officers are faced with on a daily basis. You got the criminals fighting against you. You have your bosses and working with you. You have your landlord, your car payments, your whatever bills you have. They ain't going away. But at the end of the day, they're still expected to come to work and act as though none of those things exist. They have to go out there and face people issues who are going through the same thing they're going through. That must be very stressful.
Roll insists the daily psychological stresses that police officers experience in their work put them at significantly higher risk than the general population for a host of long-term physical and mental health effects.
We need some immediate restructuring of how officers are looked at, how officers are dealt with. I think that is an essential part of the way ahead for the force.
Roll is calling for more to be done for officers, like assigning a trained psychiatrist to the force. During his contribution to the budget debate in the House of Assembly last week, Dr. Bernard Nottage said crime is up in 6 out of 15 categories during the period January 1st to June 11, 2013. It's statistics like this that Roll says that prove the workload has increased, along with the pressures of being an officer. In other news, a study on drug use in high schools across the country revealing that violence, bullying, and suicidal thoughts are on the rise amongst high schoolers. The startling statistics were recently revealed in the Bahamas Secondary School Drug Survey 2011. Our Jasmine Bonamy has the details in this report.
That study was not the first of its kind in the Bahamas. However, it did reveal new statistics on bullying among students and how violence has increased over the years. The initial goal of the 2011 survey was to assess the drug situation among adolescents, girls, and boys. The decision was taken to include questions to assess the level of violence involving students. The study found that overall, 15.9% of students had been bullied on one or more days during the past 30 days prior to filling out the survey. It is also stated 17.1% of the bullying cases most often involved being hit, kicked, pushed, shoved around, or locked indoors. Deputy Director Designate of the Anti-Drug Secretariat, Terry Fountain, says male students were twice as likely as female students to be bullied.
1 out of every 5 of our secondary school students admitted that they were physically attacked within the 12 months preceding the survey. Females were just as likely to have been bullied as the males.
A total of 2,639 students selected from 44 educational institutions across 7 islands participated in the survey. Students in grades 8, 10, and 12 from both public as well as private schools were targeted for the survey. The survey also revealed that weapons continue to be a major concern, as overall 18.2% of the surveyed students carried a weapon, such as a gun or knife, on one or more days in the 30 days leading up to the survey. Male students were significantly more likely than female students to carry a weapon, as 27.4% said they carried a weapon compared to the 9.4% of females. When it comes to students taking weapons on campus, a total of 10.4% of students carried a weapon onto school property on one or more occasions.
As to the introduction of these weapons to the school community, a total of 10.4% of the students carried a weapon onto school property on one or more occasions in the last 30 days, 1 out of every 10.
The 2011 survey was the third in a series of surveys conducted using methodology devised by the Inter-American Drug Control Commission. It's the third local survey of its kind. The first was completed in 2002 and the second in 2008. Reporting for NB12, I'm Jasmine Bonamy.
That drug prevalence survey also revealing some other startling facts about drug use amongst teens. According to the study, use of inhalants is on the rise amongst teens. The study noted after alcohol, cigarettes, and marijuana, the substances tried most often by students were solvents and inhalants. Fountain said 10.2%, or 1 of every 10 students surveyed, reportedly tried a solvent or inhalant at least once in their lives, an increase from the 5.4% observed in 2008.
What exactly are these solvents and inhalants? Well, what we found is that the students told us about erasers, markers, other things that they actually smell deliberately with the intent of getting high. Second to alcohol is marijuana. And so marijuana is the most used illicit substance amongst our secondary school population. Marijuana usage rates decreased between the years 2002 and 2008. However, what the results have shown is between 2008 and 2011, marijuana usage rates increased again.
The study also indicated that 40% of high school students are exposed to illegal drugs, usually by friends.
What we're really concerned about amongst our secondary school students are those persons who admitted to having binge drink. Binge drinking, by definition, is having taken 5 or more drinks on any one occasion. And what we have seen is that binge drinking is a real problem in our secondary school students.
Furthermore, it showed that 28.2% of all 12th grade boys had tried marijuana at least once, and that male students are using the drug at more than double the rate of their female counterparts. Additionally, of those who admitted smoking marijuana within the past year, 28.6% said they did so on a weekly basis or more frequent basis. Alcohol usage is also an issue for students. He indicated the study revealed a total of 3.8% had tried tranquilizers at least once, while 2.7% had experimented with stimulants for non-medical reasons. Coming up after the break, BEC moving forward with its plans to heighten electricity at its facilities throughout the Bahamas.